social media platforms provide us with an opportunity to have discussions and to create space on all topics that relate to family, community, and relationships with ourselves as well as with others, with a primary focus on mental health and education. More precisely, the ways that the institutions of mental health and education play a role and have played a role in our societies at large. These discussions and debates provide us with an opportunity to think critically about what needs to change within these structures for us to live up to our bold slogan, support, protect, and empower each child through youth-focused development, better known as leadership in juvenescence. We recognize that in valuing our children's leadership potential, this also translates as recreating and co-creating environments, both socially and politically, to enable our children to thrive. Now, for those of you who are particularly keen on the topic, we also write thought pieces every other Sunday. We actually have a thought piece scheduled to drop this upcoming Sunday, but be sure to meander over to the website and check out our online content. Now, if it is the case that you are looking for a listening alternative, well, we're available on 12 different podcast platforms for your listening leisure, and we provided you with access to the links in the description down below. Now, as is the convention, be sure to subscribe. Hit that post notification bell so that you are aware of every time we post. And of course, if you like these conversations and you want to keep them going, like, comment, and share this segment. Let's get into it. Allô les meufs et les mecs. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another segment here on Project Purpose. For those of you who are new, we cover topics that relate to mental health, mental wellness, and education on a week-by-week basis. And today the topic of discussion is mental wellness. On the topic of mental wellness this week, I want to talk about my top 3 givens, so the top 3 areas of learning that I didn't recognize when I first started my healing journey. And I want to share those with you so that if it is the case that you're really focused and committed on healing yourself, you keep these in mind as you figure out like what steps forward you would like to take as you focus on your healing journey. So I think that there's a few things that we all really want for ourselves. We want all the positivity. We want the emotional, mental, psychological breakthroughs. We want to feel better. And I think that sometimes the desire to feel better can be in its own discouragement, which is my first tip. I think that sometimes we're so excited to heal, so excited for it to end, that we take for granted that it's a process, that there are many steps, and for each of us, a different step that we need to take in order to really move past the things that hurt us or that have caused trauma or harm in our past. And I think that sometimes we're so focused on being healed, sometimes we can tell ourselves that we're healed and we can move forward many steps, make leaps and strides beyond what we're ready for because of our enthusiasm. So while it's great to be enthusiastic about healing, while it's great to be enthusiastic about the next chapter that you're embarking on or the current chapter of healing that you're in right now, it's important to be realistic with yourself so that you don't discourage yourself along the way and then backslide. And with healing comes a lot of backsliding. I think sometimes it is the case that your healing journey is going to take you 3 steps forward and 5 steps backwards. And that's just part of the process. It's not this continuous linear path. It is very cyclical. And I think that when we are hard on ourselves, when we treat it like a performance-based test, when we don't recognize it, it's really a part of life. There's a process to it. There's learning and experiences and different people and situations that we're going to encounter that are either going to help our healing and hinder our healing, and all of it is part of the journey, is part of the process. Then we won't be so hard on ourselves, and we recognize that the enthusiasm is great, but it's better when we ground enthusiasm in reality. So that's one of the biggest tips I want to give you. Be enthusiastic, be idealistic even, but be grounded, be realistic with the fact that we don't know how much time we need to heal. Each of us is going to be different depending on the things that we've experienced. All of our thresholds for pain are very different, so all of our journeys healing is going to be very different as well. That is nothing but beautiful. So the second point that I want to talk about that we often take for granted when it comes to the healing journey is that it's very hard to heal in the same environment where we were hurt. In fact, I would be bold enough to say that we cannot heal properly in the same environments that hurt us. And when I say environment, like that word and exchange it for situation, for people, places, things, anything that hurt you, oftentimes you need to move away from. You need to create additional distance from that person and really remove proximity from those individuals, places, and situations in order to give yourself the space to heal and give yourself the opportunity to detoxify from those relationships. And oftentimes we take for granted the real significance of distance, the real significance of taking space and taking time to heal away from the places where we were hurt, that we often try to do the healing in the same environments that hurt us. And I want to say it's very counterproductive to focus on healing but still in the same environment when they're not focused on healing too. So not to say that when it is the case that we are hurt, that we are hurting and we're focused on healing, that it always means that we cut out people, places, and things in our lives, but I think it is definitely the case that we want to cut out the people, places, and things that don't care to change, that aren't going to change and are not going to be responsive to what it is that we need and the boundaries that we established and the language that we're developing as we embark on our healing journey. If there's not a responsiveness to that, if there's not support, if there is not at least a dedication and a commitment to change in order to enable your healing, then it would be very important to really think twice about whether or not that's the right environment to heal in. And I think oftentimes the right move is to heal away from the situations, people, and places that have hurt us. And so for myself, that meant moving to Portugal from Canada, right? So I was in Canada and I was going through so many different things, being hurt by so many different people, encountering experiences that were just beyond what I ever thought that I could experience, that I made a promise that I'm going to move abroad, and until I feel properly healed from the situation, I was not going to go back. And I've kept very true to that commitment, and I think that it's really important that we give ourselves the time, the energy, the space that we need to figure out who we are beyond the situations, people, and places that have harmed us. And for me, that also works in parallel with beyond the environments where we were hurt as well, because they can be very triggering. They can create a lot of complexity in the healing that we can remove. And there's so many things about healing that we have to go through. If there's a complexity and a nuance that we can control for, then I am all for controlling it. And I think that this is really important, especially my own personal network. For those of you who don't know, I moved to Portugal in August, and my commitment was really to stay abroad, stay living and experiencing different cultures, different places, until I really felt properly healed. And at that point, I would make a decision of whether or not visiting Canada would be an option. And that wasn't even like moving back to Canada, it was visiting, right? And so it's interesting because everyone sort of doubted that me as a Canadian would be committed to moving abroad, to living abroad, working abroad, creating a life abroad, when they didn't recognize that healing is really what I'm after, right? So healing is what I'm after. An environment that really enables healing is what I'm after. And I have not been tempted, never been tempted since I've arrived in August to move back to Canada. And I think it's really important to talk about because there were rumors that were started about me wanting to move back to Canada, or the fact that I had already gone back to Canada. And I'm not really sure what the motive was or what the incentive was in creating these rumors, because I never not once even thought about moving back to Canada, let alone booking a ticket back to Canada in and of itself. So it's really important that I put that on everyone's radar, that I do practice what I preach. And when I say healing away from the environments that hurt us, away from the people, the institutions that hurt us, then I take that and I apply that to my own life as well. And I have been committed to that. And I've been almost abroad a full year, and I plan on staying abroad for as long as it takes. And so my last point when it comes to healing, give yourself an opportunity to be surprised. And I think that the one thing that I've really learned to embrace in my healing journey is just the fact that things are what they are and it is what it is. And I think that having been oriented in a way where I needed to control so many things, or I was a perfectionist about how things took place, or, I wanted to be the one to dictate the timeline of certain aspects of my life or certain relationships, being in a place now where I accept things as they are for what it is, and being open and vulnerable in the relationships that I care to invest in, but still being completely at peace when those relationships end, is something that healing gave me. And I think that there's so much strength, so much power in allowing yourself to feel the change and the difference that takes place as you're really focusing on mending those wounds, and how that can be very healing for the people you encounter who are on their own individual journey. You can be a support to one another. When you're healing through the vices, that typically would be the underlying causes for some of the pain that it is that you're trying to get away from. I think that's really great insight that I learned on my own personal journey, the fact that I love the relationships that I love for the time that I'm in those relationships, but I'm okay when they end. It doesn't mean that I'm not feeling sad or not feeling a little bit disappointed, but I'm okay. I'm like so appreciative about the time that we had together. And I think healing has given me this opportunity to enjoy things in the present without forming an attachment that is unhealthy. And I think unhealthy attachments form when we enjoy the present so much, but we're so focused on keeping the present in a steady state that we forget that the present in and of itself is a gift, right? The future is uncertain and the past no longer exists, but the present is always a gift. And so those were the 3 insights that I've learned on my healing journey, the 3 insights that I wanted to share with you as you embark on your healing journey. And I hope that it was helpful to you. And mental wellness is supposed to be light, touch, and fun. And I haven't really been super light touch of late. So hopefully this is light, but still insightful and will enable you on your own personal path. So that was it, but definitely not all. Now, before letting you go, I would be remiss if I didn't let you know that we will be going live at least twice a month, every month for the foreseeable future on our Facebook page. So definitely be sure to tune in. Now, these events are paid events, so if you do see yourself participating in our community on an ongoing basis, then I do suggest that you take a look at one of our package plans. Yes, so we do offer package plans over and above our live events, as well as access to webinars and workshops largely focused on self-mastery over and above these events. So be sure to check it out, be part of our game changer community, being part of the change that you want to see, allowing us a small role to play on your journey. We are on the road to 1K, so we invite you all to follow us across all of our social media platforms, and we look forward to chatting with all of you very soon. We'll talk to you later.